I think I've shown that in my last 3 fights that I'm totally different. I'm more confident, believe myself more and whatever. But yeah, ready for it. But you know the risk you're taking, and life's a risk. You can walk outside, get run over, anything can happen. But in this sport, I'm prepared for this risk. This is a risk that I know that I've been trained from since I was, 5 or 7 years old. So I'm more than ready for it.
Daniel Dubois has declared war against Usyk for this coming rematch, where he is ready to risk everything and even his life for it.
Dubois has found himself. He's a different fighter. He's a different animal now. Anyone who thinks that it's the same fight, they're wrong.
However, as Teddy Atlas said, such losses were not only physical losses, they also showed some inner and emotional struggles. To him, Dubois did not merely lose those fights, he crumbled under pressure, revealing some weakness in his personality.
For me, the definition of fighting is overcoming. That's it. Overcoming. To be a champion, somewhere along the line, you got to find a way to overcome. And Dubois found that. Yeah, he gave in. I thought he gave in. He broke down.
Atlas commented that Dubois, who fought unruly opponents not to earn cash, but to restore his personality and self-esteem. Atlas emphasized the fact that Dubois struggled to regain pride and see his face in the mirror and live without stigmatization.
Because it was about redeeming himself. It wasn't about getting paid. It was about finding out who he was. Finding out what kind of man he was. It was really about living the rest of his life with pride instead of the opposite, with some shame.
This fight is nothing less than a high-voltage collision course of two heavyweight forces to reckon with, and this is not just the rematch, it is the battle of redemption, reputation, and revenge. Daniel Dubois, just a few days before going into the fight night, praised Usyk and admitted that he is one of the top-ranked fighters in the world, and fighting with him in the ring was a whole lot of experience.
I think he's the best boxer. I think his record shows that he's top level guy, isn't he? Top level operator. You know, can't take nothing away from him. But yeah, at this level, they're all good. So I just need to be on my A game and focus, get right, and I'll go through him. I'll do the business.
As the days are approaching, Dubois, who is no longer the novice challenger, now walks into the ring as a transformed fighter, a fighter with his memory filled with new muscles and precision. Adam Smith provided a sincere opinion about how Daniel Dubois may potentially defeat Oleksandr Usyk in the next meeting because of his last wins, his physique, his game, and how he is taking his personality game up is making him outstand all the fighters.
Look, Oleksandr Usyk is a phenomenon. I agree with Spencer that Daniel Dubois is a much better mentally and physically athlete, fighter, person, maturity than he was a couple of years ago. He's on a fantastic run. Those wins, that gutting out win over Jarrell Miller to stop him. Hrgovic again taking the licks in the first 3 rounds. And Joshua, of course, absolutely phenomenal.
Smith claimed that should Dubois be victorious, he would probably have beaten Usyk because he had deteriorated physically or mentally rather than technically outclassing him. His observation indicated the amount of admiration he still held towards Dubois in terms of expertise and smarts in the ring.
This is a whole different animal. And look, he has to, as Duke said, he has to just keep the pace at him. He's got to work the body. He's got to take risks. Yes, he's got power. He's a phenomenal fighter, Daniel Dubois. However, Usyk's so clever. He's so good in rematches. He's so good on his feet. He's going to have to hope that he's on the decline, and I haven't seen it.
This rematch was set up through controversy. Usyk knocked Dubois out in the 9th round of their initial fight back in August 2023. It was the 5th round that caused the unending debate, however. As a body shot, Dubois crushed Usyk with a thunderous body shot that brought him down, but it was called a low blow by the judge.
Was that the hardest punch you've ever had?
Yeah, it was a hard punch.
The hardest you've had?
Daniel Dubois recalled the punch that was neither dirty nor illegal, and that Usyk went down because it also hurt him, not because it was a foul. According to Dubois, the referee was wrong when he referred to a low blow, and he was extremely sure that such an instance must have been declared a legitimate knockdown tactic. He said, "That landed. You didn't see him grab his balls. He went down, and that was a legitimate knockout." At that time, the decision gave Usyk almost 4 minutes of regaining his selves, and Dubois lost a knockdown that would have been valid if a lot of people were asked. Usyk fought back and eventually stopped the fight, but the damage was already there. Dubois, with his group of people, voiced their protest, appealed in the courts demanding justice. A situation was in place. The outcry combined with the comeback of Dubois to the heavyweight ranks set the stage for a high-stakes rematch. Dubois was disappointed not only in the decision given by the referee issued a warning it was a low blow, but also in the development that took place outside the ring. Dubois believed that the politics and behind-the-scene forces had significant contributions towards denying him his victory, and in his opinion, the undisputed championship.
That wasn't a dirty punch. That landed clean. You know, I should have been unified champion, but a number of things happened because of that, behind the scenes, political and everything around that, why they couldn't give me that.
Oleksandr Usyk commented on the debate of the 5th round body punch that he threw in the first encounter against Daniel Dubois. He rejected any definition that the punch was legit. He upheld the referee call that it was a low blow. Usyk was not interested in the debate at all, and it is obvious that he already stepped away of that moment. The matter was determined to his mind.
It's a rubbish. It's a trash talk. It's a rubbish. It's not, for me it doesn't matter, for me, because I know it was a dirty punch. Now, for me, it's in the past. I have live today in the present. For me, at present. Enough.
Daniel Dubois has grown after that loss. Raw knockout power and heavy hands became characteristics of him, but now he has introduced maturity and discipline in the game. He is no longer a dangerous puncher, but a smarter, more patient, and more dangerous threat.
Because the guy, his greatest strength is he always finds a way to win. Always. The amateurs, Olympic gold, cruiserweights, unified heavyweights, goes to London, fights a bigger guy, fights him twice, beats him. Then he goes and fights a bigger guy again, fights him twice, Fury beats him. I mean, the guy knows how to find a way to win. He's special, but he's getting older.
Teddy Atlas discussed the evolution and development Daniel Dubois and concentrates on the position of the young boxer at the moment in his career. He described that Dubois is growing up and getting confident as an athlete and man. This version of Dubois is no longer behind conjectures. In Atlas' opinion, it is that inner belief that is helping Dubois to become better and become a potential threat.
This is a different fight. Dubois is young. He's getting better. He's found himself. He's at that place now in his life where he's only going to get better. He believes in himself. He knows what he is now. He knows he can depend on himself.
Although Dubois has always been known to have a knockout ability, Atlas added that now he comes with more to offer than just brute force. Now comes stability, confidence, and maturity to the boxing arena. To him, Dubois is a complete fighter, one who knows how to cope up in pressure, and one who can no longer be taken lightly. He claimed he is more dangerous now than he ever was. He was always a good puncher, but now he's more than just a good puncher. He's a solid man in that ring. Oleksandr Usyk, in his turn, is still the embodiment of technical mastery. The Ukrainian southpaw uses slippy footwork, fake-outs, time and G, and the top boxing IQ. He is 38 years old and he has put in 2 tough 12-rounders against Tyson Fury, but he claims to be in the best shape and as hungry as ever. Usyk talked about his last fight with Daniel Dubois and said that he has been in the ring with more greater fighters. Although Daniel is smart, but he knows he can outsmart him easily.
I win Anthony Joshua, Horgovich, Jared Miller, yeah. The boxing. Yeah. The boxing, Daniel work, it's great.
Eddie Hearn gave his opinion of the recent fight cancellation of Dubois' fight against Joseph. According to him, the physical push at the press event demonstrated that Usyk had a rare case of distraction and exposure to the usually steady champion, and this could mean that he was being distracted in the head by Dubois.
So I'm sure George can as well. I don't know, like, it's a great fight. You know, I think I'll give Dubois a shot in that fight. It's a good time. I mean, a little bit of inactivity because of the fight falling through against Joseph Parker, but you know, it's exciting, and I think definitely a fight he could win.
Do you think Usyk is rattled? I've never seen him respond to something like that. It seemed out of
Push was
character.
a bit strange, you know, like the push, you know, but
Well, the
I think,
slow motion.
yeah, I know, yeah. But Usyk, who knows, you know, we'll see.
The initial match told of two styles. Dubois was attempting to enforce his physicality, whilst Usyk was trying to push him off balance with movement and volume. Chris Eubank Jr. has spoken about the momentum Daniel Dubois may have gained after beating Anthony Joshua on knockout, said Dubois was riding high and full of confidence. Concurrently, he mentioned that Oleksandr Usyk was also in fine form following his fights, and therefore, this rematch was not one-sided. Both parties were at their best.
I think Daniel Dubois, he's on a roll. He's coming off of a massive win against AJ. Usyk's also on a massive roll, so I think that fight's going to come down to mindset.
Dubois and his team were insistent on a rematch after crashing Usyk post-fight press conference and pleading a second opportunity. The IBF title holder made him a contender in the undisputed heavyweight pool. As soon as WBO gave its approval, the rematch was set at Wembley. The stakes this time are even more as the undisputed crown involved. Simon Jordan provided the rationale behind why Daniel Dubois could be feasible to beat Oleksandr Usyk because of one defining reason based on age and strength. He explained that although Usyk has high-profile boxing skills, the vigor, hunger, and physical strength that Dubois possesses gives him a chance of serious shot, especially keeping in mind that Usyk is not a young boxer anymore.
I said it to Oleksandr Usyk, and there's no favoritism here. I think it's Daniel Dubois' time. I think he's a ferocious
Have to agree with
beast. Yeah, absolutely. and I think he deserves all the plaudits. I think
Jordan acknowledged the technical prowess and endless control of Usyk. However, he reiterated that the boxing greatness does not render one invincible. He pointed out that Dubois' youth and strength of the punches, in comparison with the growing age and mileage of Usyk, provide a valid opportunity of upset.
what walked into Wembley Stadium was an absolute gladiator, and I'm thrilled for him that he's coming out of himself, growing as a man, becoming more worldly and able to communicate with the media, and I think it's going to be a fabulous fight.
Do you believe that he can get it done inside the distance?
I think he has to get done inside the distance.
Yeah. You don't think he can win on points?
I think it's unlikely.
Yeah.
I think it's unlikely. But whatever, July 19th, brilliant fight.
Daniel Dubois is aggressive, strong, and physically bigger, and this is a threat to Usyk, especially during the initial rounds. However, there is danger in that. Usyk is good at facing aggressive fighters. His timing and the capacity to switch out of harm and score crisp riposts back may all repeat to fall the younger Brit, as they had done many a time before. Carl Froch has observed that Daniel Dubois came out of his fight with Anthony Joshua a lot sturdier and confident. He was calling attention to the muscular strength of Dubois and the raw power which he put into his shots. Although Froch still acknowledged the technical ability of Usyk, he nevertheless made it clear that he feels that Dubois would be a better fighter in the rematch, as he is the more dangerous right now with his newfound skills.
He's a big heavy lad who can punch, and he's improved since their first fight. He's confident. Look what he did to AJ. Usyk couldn't finish AJ off like Dubois did, because Dubois is a big, heavy, punching heavyweight. It's going to be a tough fight. He's a massive favourite for me, Usyk, but he's the older man by over 10 years. Dubois is on the crest of a wave, flying with confidence. This is his big.
The build-up to the rematch has a number of subplots. The factor of age comes in big. 38-year-old Usyk is also at the end of his career, and Dubois is at his peak, 27 years old. Former fighters and analysts believe he could be run down by years on top and at the latest wars with Fury. Daniel Dubois shared his preparations in his mind before facing Oleksandr Usyk again, and it was obvious he is in a mindset that is characterized with intensity and purpose. He clarified that he is passionate about every fight he gets into, but this will be special.
Always fire in me. I'm always fired up for every fight I fight. So if it was, no matter who I face, with the odds on the line, I'm gonna be extra fired up to win this one and come away with a victory, and just upset the plans again like we did with AJ fight. Just what shocked the world.
There is also the emotional aspect. Dubois appears to be carrying a burning passion, but emotional warriors are prone to making hasty moves. The calm, ice-cold discipline of Usyk may end up being his ultimate weapon. Duke McKenzie expressed a clear preference for the British heavyweight over Oleksandr Usyk. While he still acknowledged respect for Usyk's accomplishments, McKenzie emphasized that Dubois resonates with him more, both in personality and in values. He appreciated Dubois' character, the way he handles himself in and out of the ring, and what he symbolizes as a fighter. He said, "I'm probably a bigger fan of Dubois than I am of Usyk. I like Usyk also, but I like Dubois, and I like everything he stands for, everything he represents, and the way that he carries himself." But then he shifted all his opinion. Nevertheless, McKenzie clarified that the fight against Oleksandr Usyk was a whole new experience. Even though lots of people were making it sound in the boxing community that Usyk was slowing down, McKenzie did not. He totally opposed the accusations that Usyk was worn out or in his worst form.
If he was fighting anybody else other than Oleksandr Usyk, I'd pick him to win. But he's not going to beat Usyk. I don't think so.
McKenzie next gave a metaphorical description of the style and the body condition of Usyk. He referred to the rhythm and control of Usyk as that of a high-end engine, flowing, proficient, unstopping. In his opinion, Usyk goes through a fight without being damaged or tired. He emphasized on the fact that Usyk hardly gets hit clean, and in case he ever does, it is often not destructive. He highlighted the fact that Usyk always manages to win rounds using good and clean boxing.
Some people are saying in the boxing fraternity that Usyk's got a lot of miles on his clock now, he's looking tired, he's looking jaded. No, he's not. Not in my opinion. You know, the guy's like, his engine's like a Rolls Royce engine. He purrs along comfortably. He goes up through the gears comfortably. You don't see him getting cut, you don't see him getting knocked down unless it's a low blow. You know, he just does most things effortlessly and he wins rounds. You know, he might not start off great, but he always wins the end of the round.
And lastly, McKenzie deconstructed the full fighting arsenal of Usyk. His compliment on Usyk was his versatility in the ring, and whether he fights aggressively, counters, and also breaks down an opponent through movement and pressure. In an interview, McKenzie gave a lot of the credit to Usyk because of his consistency and ring IQ, which says that he is almost an invincible fighter in the current heavyweight division.
When you look at Oleksandr Usyk, for a heavyweight, he's a complete fighting machine. He can box, he can fight. He can box on the front foot, he can box on the back foot, counter punches well, attacks well, works you up and down. You know, he's very, very systematic in what he does. And, you know, like I say, if Dubois was fighting anybody else, I'd back him 100%. But I don't think there's a heavyweight on the planet who can beat Usyk right now.
It is not only a fight over belts, but this is a fight over answers. It is no doubt that Daniel Dubois approached the Usyk rematch in the toughest and the most detailed training camp of his career. His training regime over the last 1,014 weeks included the basic boxing training along with high-level recovery methods. We would do sparring in the gym, which was at a high level at 40-45% intensity, something at which all shots generated the rattle in the entire gym nonetheless. The training has included heavy compound lift and oxygenated plyometric exercises with the help of oxygen chambers, ice baths, and stringent sleep programs with the coach Dubois, joking that recovery and especially sleep is now, to him, phenomenal. Daniel Dubois was very emotional when answering how much he wants to win in this rematch with Oleksandr Usyk. He termed it as not only another title shot, but the creme de la CRM in achieving the peak in boxing. There is no doubt that becoming an undisputed champion will not only prove to be an objective, but an entire confirmation of his steps, his sacrifices, and his transformation as a fighter. Dubois made it quite obvious that this fight is personal, and he is completely dedicated to putting all of his effort in order to achieve greatness. He said, "It means the world. It means conquering everything the sport has to offer, the top of the game. Undisputed is everything in boxing, so I'm going to give it everything." Anthony Joshua shared his thoughts on Daniel Dubois' chances against Oleksandr Usyk, emphasizing one key opening Dubois might exploit. Joshua acknowledged Usyk's skill, but suggested that even a fighter of Usyk's caliber can be hit, and that Dubois has the power to land a critical blow if Usyk isn't cautious.
On Daniel Dubois against Oleksandr Usyk, realistically, has he got any chance? We've got 30 seconds.
Of course he has. Look, it's a tough ask, of course. You know, the thing with Usyk is he doesn't depend on his power to knock you out. He depends on his skill. That's why it's a tough ask, because he's going to box rings around you if you let him. Dubois, good luck. Don Charles, good luck. Great British boxing, good luck. We potentially might have a heavyweight championship back on our soil.
Hughie Fury weighed in on the upcoming rematch between Daniel Dubois and Oleksandr Usyk with a confident prediction rooted in his belief in Usyk's superiority. He didn't just expect Usyk to win again, he believed the performance could be even more dominant than the first time. He said, "It's going to be a rematch. It's going to be the same. Repeat, I can't see Dubois winning, and I think Usyk could do a better job this time." So now we ask you, who takes it this time, Usyk's brilliance or Dubois's raw power? Drop your predictions in the comments, like the video if you're ready for war at Wembley, and don't forget to subscribe for all the latest updates leading to Fight Night.